evening. I'm a lover of art, most all art forms, but my favorite is theater. I appreciate how theater moves us emotionally, how it makes us connect with social and political issues, and how theater serves as a platform for many wonderful actors to share their talents. So it's no surprise that for my career, I chose to be a theater professor with a focus on teaching acting. And after teaching acting formally for over 13 years, it has become a high point of mine to cultivate and research new acting techniques. With this, my most recent project surrounding new acting techniques is a book called Black Acting Methods, Critical Approaches. This collection is unique because it features the voices from theater scholars who developed acting methodologies rooted in a Black American aesthetic. I am also a trained actor, trained by one of the techniques featured in the book. Now, my stage name is Sharrell D. Luckett, but my professional name is Dr. Sharrell D. Luckett. Yes. And today I'm on my professor tip. So, how did this project come to be, you ask? Well, the story is simple. I was trained by African-American theater director Freddie Hendrix out of Atlanta, Georgia. And once I began teaching theater, I started to train how I was taught. And around this time, I also noticed that most of the acting methodologies that are codified and distributed in the United States of America were created by white Europeans, mostly men. Now, this was problematic. But the day that I knew I had to do something about the perceived lack of Black contributions to acting and directing theory is actually a day when a couple of my students came to me after the run of a show, and they thanked me for the show, for the fantastic experience, and I said, "You're welcome." And then they kept nodding, and I smiled back, and then their faces got really, really, really serious. Everybody got quiet. And one of them looked at me in my eyes and they said, "What did you do? What did you do?" And I knew in that moment exactly what they were asking me. They wanted to know more about the acting process and methodology that I was using. And at this point, I would usually grab a book to give to them so they could learn more, or I would direct them to a website. But there was no book to grab that outlined what I was teaching, now known as the Hendrix method. And there was no website to direct them to where they could learn more about Freddie Hendrix and other diverse ways of teaching acting. At this point, I recognized I had a serious responsibility to answer these students' call, to make readily available more diverse ways of teaching acting. In addition, my students' interest, along with so many other classmates and the now successful protégés of Freddie Hendrix, made this collection even more necessary. Now, to assist me, I called on my wonderful colleague, teacher, scholar, friend, protégé of Freddie Hendrix, Dr. Tia M. Schaefer. And we, along with the chapter contributors, made Black and American history. Because this book is the first to introduce and outline acting techniques rooted in a Black American aesthetic. And while all of the contributors in the book do not identify as Black, we all agree that our work orbits Afrocentric thought. So, what are Black acting methods, you ask? Black acting methods are rituals, processes, and techniques where Black theory and Black modes of expression informs how actors engages with and interprets various texts that are meant to be performed. With this, there are 4 goals of the book. The first one is to rightfully identify and recenter Blacks as contributors to acting and directing theory. The second is to provide culturally relevant frameworks for Black folks who are pursuing careers in acting. The third is simply to diversify teaching materials in the acting classrooms. And the fourth is to highlight the role of activism and social justice in these techniques. Now, there are 10 techniques featured in the book, and there's even a special section with even more voices of Black acting teachers and directors working outside of the academy. Now let's turn our attention to Freddie Hendrix. Freddie Hendrix is an African-American theater director out of Atlanta, Georgia, who developed the Hendrix method. And the great news is that he is still working in the country today. This method can be used with actors of all cultures, races, and heritages, but it was developed specifically with the Black actor in mind. The Hendrix method is a combination of empowered authorship, musical bravado, spirituality, ensemble building, activism, effusive reverence of Black culture, and devising, often without a script. Those working in the Hendrix aesthetic understand and appreciate the ability to write and create their own material, which we call devising. Now, devising is a critical tool for Black actors because historically the material that is written for Black actors are written by whites and often include detrimental stereotypes and caricatures of what is perceived to be Black life. By creating and writing and developing our own material, Black actors are able to control our images and how we present ourselves on the stage. Actors working with Freddie Hendrix over a long period of time actually developed over 7 full-length musicals that they created by themselves, and they all tackled a social justice issue. And the Afrocentric part is that none of the musicals were written down. Full scripts do not exist, privileging oral tradition and orality, which are central tenets in Black American and West African creative culture. Black acting methods, critical approaches, positions Black actors as both bodies enacting the methods and minds creating the methods. And my hope for this book and for the future is that this work is used to diversify acting curriculum in the United States and abroad. Thank you.
Support for this and other KLRU productions made possible by the Producer's Circle, ensuring local programming that reflects the character and interests of the greater Austin, Texas community.